Here with Eric Vincent back again. Connections are strong, and we are ready to
Yes.
bring you your favorite Detroit sports show, Beyond the Box, where we have some good Lions news. In fact, I'm going to get to our very first comment here that comes from Jeff, who just says he is so happy to actually be getting used to good news. And what's that good news? That good news is the fact that Marvin Jones is coming home. And we're going to talk about that tonight and the impact that has on the Detroit Lions. And then some comments that were also made by Brad Holmes. I almost said Brad Campbell. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell
Yes.
at the owners meeting this week. Hey, before we jump into that, though, just want to remind you, super stickers and super chat, make sure that you click that $ down below this video to highlight your comments and help support this show for us as local creators so we can continue to keep on churning out this comment. We got Marvin Jones, we got Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes at the owners meeting. We are getting to all that on Beyond the Box next. All right, Eric, let's jump right in. Let's not waste any time. How excited are you that something you
Let's do
called
this, man.
actually happened, man? Something you called actually
I
happened.
mean, wait, hold on. This. You say momentum doesn't carry my season. I had the great call of J-Mo's first touchdown. Like, I called some wins where nobody else expected, and now to follow up with this and say that Marvin Jones Jr. would be back. Can I take a lap, quick victory lap, real quick? Can I go? I'll stay here. I'll stay here.
Yeah,
It's
stay
cool.
here, please. For crying
Fine.
out loud. Nobody wants to see you get up like that. Just
The
stay
people
here.
want
But
to
yeah,
see it. The people want to see it.
Marvin Jones Jr. coming back to the Detroit Lions on a 1-year, $3 million deal, can jump up to $5 million with incentives. Eric, I know you're excited, but what were you thinking when this deal was made?
I was absolutely stunned. I was pretty shocked, even though I thought it would be a good fit. I thought it was something that made sense. This was a free agency predicated on not just adding talent, bringing back some of their old players from last season, but bringing in experienced and veterans to help out with this young core at the same time. And bringing back Marvin Jones Jr., a fan favorite. He's 33 years old. He knows this city. He knows the fan base, and he understands where the Detroit Lions are going. He knows they're trying to compete. He knows they're ready to contend as soon as this next coming season. And he's, I think, a perfect fit for what they were looking for. Like, we talked about other players that they maybe could have talked to, or other players like OBJ on the market. We weren't high on that. Neither of us wanted to trade up for Cortland Sutton. We weren't super high on the idea of getting a receiver early either, even though it maybe would have been allowed. This was more in tune with what their free agency plans have been all offseason. I love this. I think this helps with the young guys, and I think this takes this offense to a whole nother level of explosiveness. I love adding Marvin Jones Jr. to what this team has right now.
I know you love it, and I love it too. Let me take that back. I don't necessarily love it, but I for
Okay.
sure don't hate it. Right?
Okay.
I'm kind of like good, good move.
You're
Right?
underwhelmed by it?
I just it just is what it is. Like it's not a move that really moves the needle one way or the other. Do I think it's a smart move? Yeah, I do think it's a smart move. Do I think it's going to have a massive statistical impact on the football field? I really don't,
No.
because Marvin Jones really hasn't had a massive statistical impact. He's a really good, like, number 2, number 3 receiver, which is all he really has to be here. The biggest impact this is going to have is on what we talked about last week on Friday, or on Tuesday. I'm sorry. It's all running together at this point. But on Tuesday, when we talked about JMO, and we talked
Okay.
about his ability to take that next step, that go to that next level in the NFL, that's where I think the biggest impact is going to be, is on JMO, hopefully in that maturity aspect, hopefully in the fact that Marvin Jones goes, "Hey, number 9, you sit right here all the time.
Mhm.
You're next to me, you're with me," and he helps mentor him and helps him grow a little bit. That's where I wanna see the impact, and that's what I hope this actually can be.
I think that's what it'll shape out to be. I don't think he's coming in like, yeah, you're 100% right. I'm not expecting him to repeat another 1,000 yard season. I mean, he hasn't had one in a minute. He wasn't a super predicated point of Jacksonville's offense when he was with the Jags. He's a secondary guy at this point, and I think he understands that. Um, I'll actually double down on that even more with you. If if somehow he has a better statistical season than Jabo, something went terribly wrong this
Yeah.
season. Something would
I
like we don't need Jabo
yeah.
to be cute and dominate, but Marvin Jones cannot be your number 2 this season. I don't want to see that at all. That
Yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
that's not what
yes,
you want to see.
that's I don't even think that's really a stretch to be like, "I'm gonna double down," because that would be horrendous,
Yeah.
actually, for the Lions. If Amon-Ra and Jamo are competing for that number 1 spot, I got no problem with that. If they're
Mhm.
like a 1A, 1B, sure. But if this move was made in a sense to be like, "Hey, we need you to be like the guy," then it's not gonna end up being a good move.
No. No,
He's
and I don't
here for
yeah.
his veteran presence. He's here for his mentorship, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a simple plug and play on this team. Yeah, he should have a whole lot of responsibility pressed up. I think this is a perfect fit for what Goff does too, because while he can still stretch the field a little bit, I don't think it's gonna be relied on as heavily as it was like when he was playing with Matt Stafford. I don't think that's
No.
gonna be the way he's playing. I think he's gonna be between the numbers. Might only see maybe a couple snaps per possession. I don't expect to see him out there a ton. But yeah, I think this is a perfect fit. I think Goff and Ben Johnson should be smiling having Marvin Jones in the field for them.
Yeah, I it's a good move. It's a good move. It's not a world-breaking move, but I think it's the only move this offseason so far that does, in a way, alter their draft plans.
You don't think their other moves have offered their or altered their draft plans?
If somebody like Joey Porter's there at 18, are you gonna pass on him because you signed those
No,
guys in the secondary?
no,
Okay,
definitely not.
so there you go. Draft plan not altered in that sense. Number 2, you've got Hal Vaitai back and you got Graham Glasgow, but if Steve Avila is there in the second round, are you gonna pass on him?
No, you'd probably take him.
Okay, so your draft plan's not altered because of those moves.
Okay,
However,
that's fair.
now you have no reason at all to draft a wide receiver in this draft. You don't need them. Your room is full.
True, it is.
So this is that move that has altered draft plans in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Two of the only
Or do
reason
you
I
disagree? I feel
the
like you
only reason
disagree a little
the
bit
only
with
reason
me.
I'm
You're
pushed
like,
back,
"No, give me as many receivers as possible on this
I'm
roster.
I'm just
We don't need
thinking
anybody but receivers."
I don't know if this I don't want to say necessarily doesn't change because is there a world where I think they could still take a receiver? Yeah. Um, I don't feel like because if you look at cornerback, like you just talk about Joey Porter Jr., like we both love him. There are a
Yep,
lot of guys at that position throughout the draft, not even in the first round, where
sure.
you can still take them. But that's a pretty crowded room as well at this point. Like depending on what they do with CJ Gardner Johnson, how they use him, like it's still a crowded cornerback room that they have to deal with. So
Sh Yeah, but at the same time, you also have guys in that room that are easily expendable.
like receiver as well, yeah.
I mean, who are your easily expendable receivers at this point?
Josh Reynolds and Khalif Raymond. I love
See,
both of them,
I
but they're
would
both
not say I
expendable.
would not say that that Reynolds is easily expendable.
He's on a 1 year deal. He's
I
absolutely
understand.
expendable.
I I don't think he's less expendable or like more expendable than anybody from Okuda down on that cornerback depth chart, though.
Okay, so do you have Jerry Jacobs below Okuda? Because if that was the case, then he's not going anywhere. And Okuda's the one in that quarterback room that's really like kind of treading for his life at this point. Like, I don't think the receivers looking at it the same way. Okuda's not in that kind of position, if you ask me.
I honestly believe let me just say it this way. I honestly
Okay.
believe that Okuda's the most expendable player on the roster at this point.
I totally agree.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's where I'm coming from. Uh, Rocked on Detroit Lions says it's not crowded. 1-year contracts and no dead cap on 6 of the DBs. Holmes can fire 21 players and lose 27K in dead cap. Yeah, I mean it. You may think that it's not crowded, but at some point these players have to get on the field a little bit,
Exactly.
right? I mean that's where we
Exactly.
mean, and you've got practice players and all that kind of stuff too. But I mean, I still it, I'm still not drafting a wide receiver. I think this is the move that kind of alters that plan. Well, last show we were talking, hey, you replace DJ Chark through the draft. You really don't need to sign a free agent. Then, literally the next day they go out and sign Marvin Jones.
Yeah.
And so here we are, which means now I'm not wasting draft capital on a wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. I just feel like at this point, I think they came into free agency trying to address as many positions as they could to go into the draft with
Free.
all their options open.
Yeah.
And they've done that.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I feel like a lot of their moves, again, I think that was what they sat down and discussed to make happen throughout this point. I do think like those signings kind of altered their plans. I mean, it just happened at a different rate. They got some positions quicker than others, but yeah, I think free agency changed everything in terms of what they're looking for at this point.
And Rocked on Lines here is correct, right? Like
Oh
you
yeah, for
need to
sure.
have the depth to fill camp and create competition, and that's a lot of what they've done. I like, today's opening day, so I liken it to the Detroit Tigers, and everybody's up in arms that they made all these like low level, no signing moves, right? And
Mhm.
didn't make a big splash in free agency, but what they did was create competition in spring training. And that's what the Lions have done, right? They've got massive rooms filled now. You've got
Mhm.
your wide receiver room that's filled. You got your secondary room that's filled. Excuse me. You got, your offensive liner, and you have that depth now that creates a lot of competition. And competition breeds competition, and competition breeds winning and bringing out the best. So, yeah, I'm all for. I got no problem with, the rooms being crowded and then just sorting through those rooms. That's what's important.
Right.
And adding strength to depth is always a good thing through in the NFL draft, not having to go into the draft being like, we
To be
need,
pressed.
we need,
Yeah.
right? Because then you can get pressured into a bad decision sometimes.
Exactly. Now they're going in there where again everything is on the table from quarterback to receiver. Again, I believe as long as they're not trading up for any of those positions, they're not necessarily in dire straits for. Then you should be fine. I'm of the minority. I don't care if they take a quarterback early. I would understand if they took a receiver still. Like there are still some areas where I would let slide, but I
But
mean this is
where's
what
your
they set up
limit?
for him.
Where's your limit though?
Trading up.
Hold on, even at 18, so, like, if they took a wide receiver at 18, you'd be like, "Yeah, no big deal."
Yes, because I feel like to me, I feel like people are like panicking in terms of where this defense is. Yeah, there are some holes that they need to fill in, especially for the long term. A lot of these people that they filled in are on 1 year deals. However, I don't think they're so like in such a bad spot where, like you said, where all the first five have to be defense. I didn't believe that before free agency started. I still don't believe that now. So as long as they're not trading up or doing anything stupid, like a receiver at 18, I wouldn't care. It would not bother me at all because you're at least at that point. I'm assuming okay, they took a player at 6, and you still have extra resources and a whole lot of talent to make things happen and fill in those holes too as well. So yeah, I don't think it has to be as pressing as people made it out to be to start this thing off.
Rocked on Lines, thank you for all the contribution to the show, but he's saying, still need a wide receiver. Here's why: get another stud to grow with this young group of Brown and Williams. Keep the contracts long and affordable. Can you imagine another number one in this group? That if it's Quentin Johnson, I'm not going to be like throwing things.
You're not gonna hate it, yeah.
If it's Jackson Smith and Jibda, I'm gonna hate it. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna like it.
that's fair. Yeah, there's some players you can get off with it on. Like, it's not, like I said, the room
And I
isn't open
like
to
and I
everybody.
think Smith Njigba could be a good wide receiver. I got no problem with it. He's not a number 1 to me.
Yeah. And you have what you're looking for at that position at this point. Like, we
Yeah.
both talked about wanting a bigger receiver that has like a bigger catch radius than a lot of the other receivers we've seen come to. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I understand that.
What's the weakest position group that this team has right now?
Oh man. At this point, it would probably be tight end. Hit us up in the comments. I'd like to see what y'all think about that. To me, I would say tight end. And just based on the experience of it, you could argue receiver. And we're talking about just offense, right? We talk about offense or both sides of the football.
I said on this team.
Also, the team. Sorry. So it would be linebacker
Okay,
and tight end
good.
at this point, probably. I mean,
Okay,
you can still make the
good.
argument for receiver. You don't know what you have with Jamaal yet. Marvin's a little older. You can make the argument for it.
I said the weakest position group on this team. And even without Marvin Jones, the wide receiver group is not the weakest on this team.
I don't. Okay, go. What was yours be? I think you can make the argument that it is, but okay.
The interior of your defense, defensive tackles, and your middle linebacker.
Okay.
Because Alex Anzalone is still the weakest point of your defense.
He's got 3 years on his name, so
Now,
he's.
hopefully, listen. Here's the deal, right? Jalen Carter falls in your lap, and or Kijana Cansey falls in your lap. That's going to improve Anzalone's play. So that's not
Absolutely.
a bad thing.
No, not at all.
But if I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, if we had to define need in the draft, well, then to me, linebacker is the biggest need at this point. Defensive
Yeah.
tackle and linebacker
Yeah.
are the biggest need, and then tight end's a peripheral need to me. Like I think
Yeah.
those 3 guys would be fine. We don't have to have a Dalton Kincaid in the 2nd round. But yeah, I would say DT and linebacker. But hey, the draft is the draft, and the draft is coming up quite soon.
Indeed, it is.
So let's talk to these people about our live draft show. There's all this excitement. We know you guys are excited too, because we are excited. And if you're excited, you're in for a treat.
You really are, guys. Trust me. Join us for our exclusive 2023 NFL Draft live show where your favorite analysts, AJ, yours truly, and Dylan will be breaking down each first round pick as it happens. That's right. We'll be reacting live to all the drama, surprises, and jaw dropping moments of the whole NFL draft.
And guess what? We want you to be a part of it too.
Yes.
Share your thoughts, reactions, predictions in the live comments, and we will interact with you throughout the entire first round, every single pick.
Yes.
Don't miss the chance to engage with fellow Lions fans and your favorite Detroit sports hosts as well.
Indeed. So mark your calendars for the 2023 NFL Draft live show. April 27th, mark it on your calendar, mark it on your cell phone, your iPhone, your Android, hosted by Detroit Sports Nation. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell right now so you don't miss a single moment of this epic event.
We will see you there, and as always, go Lions.
Go Lions. Man, so we are ramping up for NFL Draft. It's been a long, very festive offseason that's been going on. And through some of that has been a lot of conversation, a lot of debate, and basically a lot of conversation about the direction of the team. And at the NFL owners meeting this week, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell had a lot of interesting comments that I think are pretty intriguing that we should talk about, honestly. A big source of the conversation was predicated around Jared Goff. I mean, we've heard it nonstop on social media, the conversation about where the Lions see Jared Goff, a backup quarterback direction, Lamar Jackson, so many different conversations. Dan Campbell put a lot of that conversation to rest, or did he? He said, direct quote, listen, you feel really good about Goff. Love Goff. Goff's our guy. I think he's proven over the last 2 years that he's made for us. He's had a lot to endure, just like all of us have. I think he played his best football last year, and I think he's going to come out and play some of the best football this year. I feel good about it. It was a lot of comments that were being made about it. What were some of your biggest takeaways that you found from this owners meeting from Dan Campbell as well as Brad Holmes?
Well, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, that's interesting, especially because of a lot of the things we talked about on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to thinking about it more, and I was like, okay, I'm glad that they just actually came out and said this. That like we don't have to speculate if they're going after Lamar. I think the Lamar Jackson to Detroit wishful thinking by a lot of people is dead, and rightfully so. I was kind of relieved. And listen, I was on board with the Lamar thing for a while. But seeing how all of this has played out, Lamar's not 100% at fault. I'm not blaming Lamar.
I agree.
There's a lot of blame that goes to the NFL and the way that it handles its players and the Ravens organization as well. But this team right now doesn't need that type of distraction. And so I'm relieved. I can live with the fact that Jared Goff's my quarterback for next season, potentially the year after that. Beyond that, we'll see. I don't think this is Goff's our guy until he retires. I think this is we have him for 2 more years, and we'll see how it plays out. But I'm actually glad that we can just stop talking about Lamar Jackson being in the Honolulu Blue.
Now, while I do agree with that, I think, Lamar is a whole different conversation in itself. You said we can stop talking about him. And I agree. I think these quotes absolutely put that to rest. But do we have confirmation that, we and you agree, for now, Goff is the guy. For the duration of his contract, he's the guy.
For sure. Why would he not be?
Because I agree. I don't think anyone's arguing that. I'm just trying to figure out if the Lions believe that as well. Because what they're showing to me is maybe they're not sure yet. And I'm not even talking about the duration of his contract. Let's not even go there. Let's talk about, because to me, people have talked about not wanting to trade up and, put out too much of your draft capital to still be set for the future while still winning now. If we're talking about the future, is Goff in that plan? Because I haven't heard anything from the Lions, from their free agency activity, from where they're setting themselves up for the draft. I don't think we've heard that or hear that from the Lions, from Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell, that's the plan moving forward in the future. Do you see it that way?
This is why. It's chess. It's not checkers.
Okay.
Why would you go out and say, yeah, he's our quarterback for the next decade? You don't know that. Nobody's ever going to say that.
If you know you got that guy, you would. You think the Chiefs are going to sit back and say something like that?
Yeah, you know how but you don't directly go out and say it. You know how you say it is through a contract extension.
Teams do that all the time.
They just sit out and go, yeah, he's our guy for the next decade. No, they say, okay, here's a contract extension to make you our guy for the duration of however long.
The Ravens have been sitting out here telling us Lamar's their franchise quarterback, except by paying him. So I'm talking about what they're saying and what their actions show outside
that's
the contract.
exactly what I'm saying, right? Isn't it what you do means a lot more than what you say?
Right, but
so
the words are meaning something in this
that's
moment.
What I'm saying. Like, what people say does not matter to me that much. Because they're going to give the answer that satisfies, just kind of blank. They're going to coach speak. They're going to GM speak. We really love Jared Goff. Great. I'm glad that you love him. He played some of his best football last season. Yes, he did. That's factually true. They're not going to be like, yeah, we're getting ready to extend him. They're not going to talk like that. The way that we're going to find out if Jared Goff is the quarterback of the future beyond this contract is if they offer him a contract extension. That's the way.
So you're saying that it would be a negative for them to come out and say, "Yeah, we want to extend Jared Goff."
I think they're saying it exactly how they want to say it.
No. Answer that though. Like, do you believe that if they were to come out and say, "Yeah, we want Goff to be part of our future plans, regardless of how long it is," let's say they give him 3 years after these next two. Let's say he doesn't get to 5 or to 10 or something crazy. Let's say he gets 3. You think like that would be part of the future plans? You think it would be a negative or checkers for them to say that?
Yeah, I think you hold. I think when you are running a team like this, you hold your cards as close to the chest as you can always.
I, I feel like if you have something
You don't back
obvious,
yourself into a corner. Because listen, what have you gotten from Jared Goff in 2 years? And we know, listen, again, I'm not knocking Jared Goff. He is the quarterback. But you've gotten a little bit of inconsistency in 2021, and then you got a really
I agree.
good season in 2022.
I agree.
Why would you, as a person who's running a team, go, yeah, that's our future guy? You don't know that yet.
I'm based on how they talked about him, and again, it's sometimes it's how they talk about two sides of their mouth, where they say he's our guy, and we also heard Dan Campbell say he's not going to be here for 10 years. Like he just talked about that a month ago. So I don't know. It doesn't seem as cut and dry as you're making it out to be. And I don't think if they believed he was that, which I agree, I don't think we've seen enough of that to prove it anyway. But from what fans have shown, from what it looks like their draft plans are, it looks like they're just conflicting each other. Where fans are sitting here saying, "Yeah, he should be our guy. He could be our plans for the future," and what their team is showing is maybe it's not that. So I don't know. It just I feel like it's speaking out of both sides of their mouth in this discussion with about him.
But again, we're not in those rooms. So we don't know what their draft
Of
plans are.
course not.
We come at roster building from our own philosophies too, right?
Right.
You put an importance on wide receivers and having a game changing guy. I'm like, give me somebody to fill the role and I'll win in the trenches. And we would build our teams differently. When it comes to their draft strategy and the way that they are constructing this team, there are signs and signals where we can be like, well, we think this is the way that they're going to go. But I can tell you, even last year in the draft, them trading up to number 12 to get Jameson Williams was never even an inkling of a thought in my mind because I'm not in that
Me
room.
neither. Right.
And so when we talk about this quarterback situation and their draft plans, we can give you our best thoughts of what they should do or what we think makes the most sense. And to me, it doesn't make sense to be like, yeah, this is our future right now. It gives up it literally is playing poker with your cards turned over.
Based on that, I agree. I think the draft is going to determine a lot of that. Again, I want to see what they do. We've heard in the comments, Brad even said it. Brad Holmes talked about in this owner meeting where he said he's been very visible with his communication with Jared Goff. I do appreciate that. I like, them being upfront. I like them being direct with them saying that we want to get some people behind you. It just depends on when they take it. Like if you're getting Hendon Hooker, then yeah, you're probably just gonna leave him as your backup. I don't think Nate Sudfeld really does a whole lot in terms of what their depth is, but they needed a need in terms of getting a backup. I'm okay with that. I'm just very intrigued to see what they do in the draft in terms of that. So yes, it maybe could be a chess scenario in their mind, but if he's what people are trying to tell me he is, I don't see why they wouldn't at least entertain that conversation, and publicly or not. If he's that guy, then do it. But I guess we look at it different.
How many franchise QBs do you think are actually in the NFL? Like
Uh,
legitimately. Is Jalen Hurts a franchise quarterback?
yeah,
No.
yes. What? Oh,
No,
come
he's
on.
not.
Yes, he is.
A franchise quarterback to me is an elite quarterback. How many elite quarterbacks are in the NFL?
Okay, elite quarterbacks. I would say there are 3. And you can argue Allen, honestly, but just for number's sake, I will put him in there. I will put Allen, Herbert, or not Herbert, no,
I was
Allen,
about to say, huh?
Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. Excuse me.
Okay. I wouldn't consider Dak like you can build a franchise around a guy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are tied to him. Like, let me say it a different way. You can build a franchise like the Eagles. They have they have Jalen Hurts, right?
Right.
But you're telling me that even though he fits what they're doing right now, they're not at the end of his contract going to be like, it's time to move on.
No, they're gonna pay him. They're gonna pay him. They probably, if I'm not mistaken, I thought reports were that they were already having conversation about getting that done soon
Then why is Lamar not getting paid?
because the Ravens are idiotic
If he's
and they don't
really a
want to pay
franchise, that's
guarantee
what I'm
money.
saying though.
Reportedly,
Like that, this is what I'm like. These superstar quarterbacks are also, to an extent, expendable. This idea, or at least the teams think that they are.
then they're idiots. Then how would you call a
Maybe
superstar quarterback expendable? People are breaking their neck for mid quarterbacks. Like they're going to bidding war for Jimmy Garoppolo. Like,
I don't
come on.
know. I just don't think if I'm running a team, I'm sitting out here going, yeah, that's my franchise guy. Because he's not in that class of a quarterback to say that about.
Goff, maybe not, but I guess based on it,
Jalen Hurts, I would put Jalen Hurts in that same class.
I
I
wouldn't.
wouldn't be saying the same thing about Jalen Hurts. And I
No,
like Jalen Hurts. I
no
like his
way.
play style. I would have no problem if Jalen Hurts was the Lions quarterback. But at the same time, I don't think he would be in that class.
Who's shown more of a franchise quarterback to you for their team currently, Hurts or Goff?
Oh man, you had to
That's an
put me
easy
on the spot.
question. That's not hard. That's an easy question. It's
Uh,
Jalen Hurts
Based on what?
based on him damn
Because
near
they've
being
both had
MVP.
one really good season.
No, he played really good his first season. He just didn't get past Tom Brady in the year they got to the Super. Oh no, that was the year before. After that, but he still got him to the playoffs and played pretty good.
Jalen Hurts has been in the league for 2 years.
Right, and he wasn't bad
And
his first year as a starter.
but he did this was this not his first year that's what I'm confused about. He's been in the league for 2 years. Was this not his first full season as a starter?
Yes, but he also
And
played.
then his first year he only started like 4 games, right?
Was it 4? I don't think it was 4 games.
It wasn't many.
Okay, you go ahead and let me
I
take a
am
look.
going to look that up because if you put me on the spot right now to ask me about which one I would have to consider a franchise quarterback, Jalen Hurts or Jared Goff, I'm gonna be honest with you. 2022 is his 3rd season. He started
Right.
4 games his first year, and then he started 15 and 15 the last 2 years. Who's shown me more?
Jalen Hurts has showed you more.
I'm gonna say Goff, man.
No way.
Goff
No
was the 2nd
way.
best quarterback in the NFL last season.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on.
According to the statistics that we read yesterday or last week, 2nd most value to a team according to DVAR and Football Outsiders. The
You're not
4th
doing this.
best quarterback according to DVOA. Based on 2022, Jared Goff was pretty doggone good.
I hate what analytics have done to this game. You're not going to sit here and tell me that Jared Goff was the 2nd best quarterback in the NFL. You know that's not true.
As far as value added.
No, he was not the 2nd best quarterback in the NFL last season. He was not better than Jalen Hurts. He was not better than Joe Burrow. He just wasn't. And that's okay. He was very good. He was not better than those guys. And I feel like the way the Eagles have catered their offense specifically to
I mean, he threw for more
Hurts.
touchdowns, threw for more yards. Hurts had 1 less interception.
Yeah, because all Goff does is throw. How many
I under
did rushing yards? That was how have you turned on the Eagles so much?
I don't
You
know.
have totally turned on this team. I
No,
don't
I like
understand
him.
you.
I like Jalen Hurts, but again, this is the problem with a dual threat quarterback. And I understand that the game's evolving, but it is the problem. And we're seeing it cut and dry. Take away what the Browns did with Deshaun Watson. Okay. That has to be forgotten about.
Okay.
What is happening with Lamar right now is a smoke signal for a lot of other teams. Because Lamar was relatively healthy his first couple of years too, and the last 2 years he's only played 12 games each season, which was a red flag for the Lions trying to trade for him. I think you would agree with that.
Not really, but I get it. I get it.
And I understand, like, towards the end, him wanting to protect himself to get his money and all. I understand that. But I think it's going to give teams with running quarterbacks a pause. Like, I don't think Hurts gets extended. Hurts is gonna be in his final year of a contract this year, which is why you have extension talks going on, right?
Okay.
Those are facts.
Right.
That's why extension talks are happening because he's going into his free agent season.
Would you okay? So for what would you consider Josh Allen a franchise quarterback?
He'd be on, like, the outer tier of that. The
Oh my
outer tier,
goodness.
like, between franchise and not, because he has a massive turnover issue,
Okay.
and he runs really heavy. He's
Okay.
going to break down and have injury issues.
Possibly. I don't think we've seen that yet, though, which is, I mean, not necessarily fair to assume that that's going to be the case for him. And considering what he's gotten his team, Jalen Hurts included, I feel like it's easy to sit here and call those guys franchise quarterbacks and see
What would
regular
you
season
sign?
success and postseason success.
What kind of contract extension would you sign Jalen Hurts to? Would you give him
Whatever,
a 6-year deal?
whatever Burrow is going to get, I'd give Hurts basically the same thing. Easily. Easily.
Oh my gosh.
Easily.
This is
And we
this
talking
is what
about injuries.
this is exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to building a team based on your own philosophies, right?
That's fair. Sure. Yeah.
Right? This you're seeing this play out in front of you live right now because you would pay Jalen Hurts the same exact money that you would pay Joe Burrow.
Yes. They're both franchise quarterbacks. They're both the most important piece to their team easily. No question I would pay
The
him.
offensive line was the most important piece to the Philadelphia Eagles. If
I,
Jalen Hurts is on a different team, he's not the Jalen Hurts that we know.
I mean, maybe, but the way it's predicated, he helped elevate
Maybe.
those guys
It's
as
not
well.
a
Did he
maybe.
help elevate Miles Sanders? Yes. Did he help elevate Devonta Smith? Yes. He absolutely helped those guys. I don't think it
Okay.
was like a clearing. He absolutely was one of the best pieces on that team. He wasn't lifted and carried by the offensive line.
You are I love you as a brother on the show. You are outside your mind saying you would pay the same for Jalen Hurts as Joe Burrow.
I guarantee. You want to bet he does? You want to bet he does get that money? We can put that one right now. We'll put that on before we get
Round of
off here.
golf.
Sure, easy, right here.
When
Got it. No problem. Virtual agreement. Y'all seen it in the chat.
now again, I mean, I also wouldn't have paid Deshaun Watson what he got paid, but okay,
Me
whatever, it's
neither.
fine.
Yeah.
But Jalen Hurts is not getting Joe Burrow money. There's
Watch.
no way.
Watch. Just watch.
Okay,
It's almost
we'll see.
MVP, which I guess means nothing anymore in this league. That's right. Never since Lamar. That's cool. That's cool.
What about the MVP?
It's just people downplay that now. If you're not having
No, I know,
postseason
but
success,
how is it? How is Jalen in the Jalen
because
did
he
not
was
win.
almost MVP before he got hurt.
Oh my gosh, almost.
Yes, he was
Almost
just.
counts in 2 things: horseshoes and hand grenades, my man.
So now him finishing second in MVP voting don't mean nothing. Okay.
No, he got. Did he get MVP votes or was it unanimous?
I believe it was unanimous because he got hurt. If he would have played out, it was bad. Then maybe
Man.
Mahomes wins. But if he carries on, he probably beats
Man,
Mahomes against
if
the
and nuts
MVP.
were candy and nuts, we would have one heck of a party.
You're out of your mind, man. You're out of your mind.
I'm just saying, like, we're like, oh, you almost got there, but you didn't. Yeah, that's like I got the ball to the 1, but I couldn't get it in the end zone.
But
Well, you were close enough.
But that was. The point is, he was good enough to even be in that discussion. Franchise quarterbacks are in those discussions, not mid or I quarterbacks. Players who ball out and can be at the top of their game, like Jalen Hurts was, are the number 1 guys. They're franchise guys, no question.
So, if that is the case, okay, whatever. I disagree. I don't even know what
That's
to
fine.
do after that. I think what the conversation is this, and Thomas is correct that Joe Burrow's maybe not worth twice as much as Jalen Hurts, but they are not worth the same amount of money.
That's cap.
Joe Burrow
That's
is a
all cap.
superior quarterback.
Sorry, Thomas. That's not true, fam. That's not true at all.
I don't even know.
That's
I,
okay.
I don't even know. I listen. There was a lot of other stuff said about Jamaal Williams at the owners' meeting as well. We don't have time to get into that. The reality of the Jamaal Williams situation is this: he bet on himself, he lost, then he felt slighted and got disrespectful about it, and he's wrong.
Hmm.
We have a better backup, or I mean, we have a better running back than we did last year in David Montgomery than Jamaal Williams. Yes, he was fun. Yes, he was a great personality, but have fun in New Orleans, pal.
I was,
That's
you
the end
know,
of the conversation for me. I'm gonna waste no more time talking about Jamaal Williams.
we haven't. The only reason he was brought up, I'm sure, because Brad wasn't able to give his comments back and forth about it. We heard
Sure.
Jamaal what he said a while ago. It was cool to have him, be professional about it. Hey, wishing the best. It is what it is. But Lions gave him a fair offer. He didn't feel like he was up to snuff. Cool. We're not. There's no hate. There's no smoke for him.
At
Wish you
the
all the best, in New Orleans, my friend.
at the end of the day, we are not overpaying for a backup running back who had 17 touchdowns, and the total yardage in those touchdowns, minus one of them, was 17 yards.
Yes.
So I, it is what it is. I don't know. There's a lot more lines that we have to talk. Don't forget about the live draft show that will be coming to you April 27th. But we have to peace out for tonight. For those of you that were around and were watching, thank you so much. For those of you in the comments, we appreciate every single bit of it. Even if some of the things we say are crazy, like wide receivers don't matter and Jalen Hurts is worth as much as Joe Burrow.
It's hurt on your team. I can't
That's why
believe
you
you.
tune in for this kind of stuff, because
Out
you
your
never
mind.
know what's going to happen here on your favorite Detroit sports show, which is coming at you 4 times now a week. Monday night at 9 o'clock, we're live. Tuesday at 5, we drop a show. Thursday night at 9 o'clock, we are live. And we also drop another show on Friday to kick off your weekend the right way. This has been Beyond the Box. He is Eric. I am AJ. We will see you all Monday night.